From Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation, it's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of the traveling Sukkah. We know that the Sukkah represents represents that period of time, that loving time when the Jews very innocently walked and followed after God in the desert, not knowing where the next stop would be. And therefore the Gemara says, we have to go out. When you go to a Sukkah, you have to leave your permanent residence and you have to go to this temporary residence. And the Sphard-Beth, we'll be talking a lot about the Sphard-Beth, he says that's related to the very first mitzvah in the Torah of Avram Avinu. Avraham was Lech Lecha. His first mitzvah was to go forth. We too as Jews, our first mitzvah after Yom Kippur is to go forth. We have to go forth. But what does that mean? So the Sphard-Beth says, well, after Yom Kippur, we're new and fresh. We're like new people. When we're new, so that reminds us of our very beginnings as Avram Avinu. And the first mitzvah was, we have to go out. We have to go forth. We have to do. What does that mean? We'll get back to that. Second interpretation is, right after Yom Kippur, we're clean from the sin, and therefore we're like we were before the sin, and therefore God remembers us as the children that we once were, the innocent Jews we once were, who walked after God into the desert. Now, my interpretation of just a little bit of a transposing of the ideas of the Sphard-Beth and his grandfather, the Chidushei Arim, goes as follows. Avraham, first he recognized God. We know the Midrash says before he walked forth to the land of Israel, he also already recognized God. So that was the Shema. Now during the Shema, you're not allowed to move. There's a rule that when you say Shema, you have to stay put. You can't be walking and saying Shema. You're going to be doing other things, looking at your iPhone while you're saying Shema. You have to stay put. So the Shema is something you stay put for. Then, and only then, he began the idea of loving God. And when you love God, the second verse, when you love God, you need to, you got to make God's name be loved by others. And how do you do that? By making a good impression about God and the Torah and the Jewish people. And that's where Abraham had to go forth and go to a different land and spread the word about God and the Torah. So therefore, Avraham Avinu, his first mitzvah was Lech Lecha, but it only came after the Shema. And here the Sphard-Beth says that the holiday season also is organized in that way. First we have Rosh Hashanah, we're standing, because it's just Shema. It's about beliefs. Or as Salvation said that the Malchios, Zichronos, and Shofros represents Malchios, God is king, belief in God, Zichronos, that God gave us the Torah, and Shofros, that God will bring redemption one day. The three principles of Rav Yosef Albo are reflected somehow in those three themes. So Rosh Hashanah is all about belief in God. It's about the Shema. And therefore we're standing, because you can't move during the Shema. Yom Kippur, he says, is about Baruch Shem. The Yom Kippur is the only day when we say Baruch Shem K'vod Olam V'ed out loud. Because Yom Kippur is the second verse. We're moving on from belief, we're going a little bit further. And Sukkos is love. Sukkos is something, it's not heavy and so pensive and so worrisome. Sukkos is about our love for God, our love of mitzvos. And therefore, when you're up to Ve'ahavta, some rabbi said that no, Ve'ahavta, you can already start walking, you can start moving. Because when we want to make God's name more well-known, more loved, we have to go out there. You got to spread the word. And that requires, Lech Lecha requires going out into the world. One might say that during Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, we're more inwardly focused. The purpose is to, yes, we want to have a good judgment for the whole world, but first of all, we have to look at ourselves. But on Sukkot, we're out with the world. On Sukkot, we have the Shivim Parim, they have the 70 cows that they would offer in the olden days to correspond to the 70 nations, to help the 70 nations. The rabbis say if the Gentiles knew how much we do for them by praying for them through the 70 cows, they'd be so thankful. They'd be coming every day to thank us. So Sukkot is not as inward. Sukkot is outward. It's like Avraham. Avraham was always going forth. So we're always missionizing. Everyone else always out there spreading the word, spreading goodwill about God, about everything he had learned. That's what Sukkot is. It's beyond just belief. Now we have to act on our beliefs. Sukkot takes us back to our early days. It harps back to the days when there was just pure love between God and the Jewish people. Sukkot is Mashchini Acharecha Narutza. God pulls us in, and now it's time to run after God. And in that sense, we go out of our homes. But the Rabbi said, what the Sphard-Beth says, it's true we go out of our homes, but ultimately, Sukkot is all about changing the way we live. Everything in Judaism affects different aspects of our lives. We wear tzitzis on our garments. Or we get married to sanctify that part of life. And the Sukkah is to sanctify the living part of life. The mezuzah does part of the job, and the Sukkah as well, to make us think again about how we live and to elevate every aspect of our lives, including how we live and where we live. And our homes should be elevated and uplifted through the experience of Sukkot. So, on this Sukkot, let's hope we can get back to the early days. Let's hope we can make God's name beloved. Let's hope we can get out there and spread the love of God to others. And let's remember to sanctify our homes, which what Sukkot is all about, is elevating the whole idea of living to a new plateau. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation for our discussion of Sukkot. Join us each week and each holiday for the discussion of the Parsha, various holidays, and also the how-to videos. Thanks, Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit asb.org.